All right, everybody, welcome to Football Focus Weekly. We got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We'll start off with Pet Man's players, and we'll go to Punt and Huddle Up. We'll do a roundtable discussion about fights going on at games. We'll talk about the New Bern situation and the CFI Showcase coming up December 2nd. We'll do our polls with Friday Night and myself, including the CMS Best to Last, the most controversial rankings on Instagram. And I've already seen comments going back and forth. We'll do our game previews, our predictions, and we'll take a look at the RPI rankings. Those are the rankings that help set the playoff seedings in North Carolina. And then we'll finish up with slime time. But right now, we're going to bring on a special guest. He has had a great start to the season for the Cox Mill Chargers, and he's been a Pet Man player, it seems like every week. And he is Jordan Cleaves, athlete, and we're going to bring him on the show right now. How you doing, Jordan?
How you doing? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, man?
All right. Doing
Good. I need to grow my hair like you, man. I got mine cut off. You got a whole thing going on over
there. 2 years.
Well, good stuff, man. I'm glad you were able to make the show tonight so we can talk to you about, the great start to the season that you've had. And my first question for you is, how has it felt to be able to be making plays all over the field in so many different ways?
It feels good, and it's like it's hard to stop me. Not on a cocky level, on a confidence level, but it's hard to stop me, and that's the one thing I'm looking forward to.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it has been impressive to see the ways you've been making plays all over the field, punt returns, receiving, running the football. And I know you've played some defense before in your career. So I got to ask you, do you have a preference of playing offense or defense?
I love playing both. On offense, I play like wide receiver, running back. I'll play quarterback here and there, like wildcat. On defense, I'll play like safety or corner, either or. I really like both though.
Okay, all right, good stuff. But I mean, it has to make you feel good when you like catch a big touchdown pass, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean I never got to experience that being a lineman. So I'll live vicariously through what you guys do.
Feels great, and especially a lot of fans and everybody cheering. It definitely feels good.
Absolutely, man. I gotta ask you, what is the experience like playing at Cox Mill this year for Coach Holmes? Your new head coach.
Coach Holmes is a very good guy. He keeps me pushing every day. He keeps me accountable every day, and I look at him like a father figure type. And he's a great coach.
Absolutely, man. We got some comments here coming in for you. This is a guy we call our chat administrator because he's always here. He says you're a heck of a baller for Cox Mill. You have an extremely bright future and a fun player to watch.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And then I got one of your coaches here. You might know this guy, Coach Billups. He says he can hit, but he's holding back. Okay.
Yeah. Not too many people will be seeing some plays, but I'll make a hit. I'll go make a hit. I ain't scared.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's good, man. That's good. You shouldn't be. Let's talk about off the field, Jordan. What do you like to do away from the game of football?
Honestly, I think everybody that like kind of knows me, everybody know I'll be dancing. I'm always dancing like wherever, no music, just always just dancing, always in a good vibe at all times. I'm really a dancer for real at heart. Really a dancer.
I wish I had some video of you dancing. We'd put it up.
I had score. I had to do a little Michael Jackson dance.
Oh wow. Man, that's awesome. It's good to have fun, man. You gotta have fun when you're playing, man. That's what it's all about. Right. Jordan, my last question for you, man. What does this Cox Mill team need to do to make sure you guys make the playoffs this year?
Start off in practice, running to the ball at all times, catch the ball, score, just trying to get better habits and moving forward, just being focused and never put our heads down.
Very good, man. Very good. You guys got a big win last week over
Yeah.
A.L. Brown. Our
Yeah.
guy, Kenneth McClamrock, was there. Said some very nice things about you and your Cox Mill teammates. I just want to say congratulations to you. And I know you've been balling since last year when you were a freshman coming in. And, I wrote about you on Prep Red Zone. I think you were one of the best freshmen in the state last year. And you're taking your game to another level. So congratulations, man. And you got some guys commenting here. Chief Cleaves with Coach Bird and Coach Grice with that. So there you go, man. You got some fans, man.
They say Chief Cleaves because Chief Keef got dressed, so it was like Chief Cleaves.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, Jordan, congratulations for all the success you've had so far, man. I look forward to seeing a lot more big plays from you over the next couple of years, man.
Oh, sure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Jordan.
Thank you.
That was Jordan Cleaves from the Cox Mill Chargers. We're going to run the intro. We'll be right back, and we'll get into Pep Man's players. So give us about 2 minutes, and we'll keep the show rolling.
Well, rule number one, for as long as I have been able to drive a car, I'm getting pretty old, has been never pass a Bojangles without stopping to get something to eat.
I'm slamming these adult league referees.
God, dog.
Well, dang, I mean, y'all just took my slime, because I was going to slime Coach Phillips. Because let me tell y'all about this cat.
Well, I think I got to go with slamming who's ever running these stupid robo-dollars and group callers.
All right, welcome back to Football Focus Weekly. We're going to roll into Pep Man's players presented by Rock Solid Training. If you need some rock solid training to take your game to the next level, make sure you reach out to the engine, Kenneth McClamrock, on this show, on Twitter, and send him a DM and say, hey, I need to get better. And he'll schedule you some one-on-one training to get better at your game. All right, so let's take a look at this week's Pep Man's players. Starting with Aiden Davis from York. We went across the border this week. He was very impressive, wore number 2. He's an athlete. He played some receiver. He played some quarterback. He scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth. 28-20. 1 second. Little internet issue there. All right, we're good. Athlete Gene Neely from Hunter Huss had a touchdown catch, 2 rushing touchdowns, a fumble recovery, and 10 tackles in their victory Very talented young man that comes from a good family. Jay Jackson, a regular in Petman's Players from North Stanley, 225 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns in their big victory last week. Defensive lineman Quinshea Abernathy from Hickory. This was a very impressive young man who had a really impressive game. 6 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks in their victory last week. He's about 6'1", 220 pounds coming off the edge. A Hickory program that we're going to take a look at tonight when we do our RPI rankings. We have to kind of factor them into the 3A race when we talk about all of the candidates and especially the 3A West. Running back LJ Southern from Greensboro Dudley. Look at his average. 4 carries for 152 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 28-yard reception touchdown in their victory. That was a rivalry victory over Ben L. Smith up in Greensboro. We just talked to Jordan Cleaves. You see why we did. 4 catches for 170 yards, 3 touchdowns, and also had a rushing touchdown and 263 total yards of offense in their victory. Great young man. If you missed it, go back. When the show's over, it'll be right there at the beginning. Running back Gabe Boulevard, once again, one of the leading rushers in the state from Pine Lake. 32 carries, 251 yards, and 3 touchdowns in their win. Great job once again to Gabe and that Pine Lake prep team. Incredible stats right here for Edward Robinson out of Blythewood in South Carolina, Columbia area. He broke the school record with 5 sacks in one game. It's crazy. In their victory. And I looked up his stats from last year. He had 25 sacks last year. It's like, are you kidding me? Yes, we invited him to the CFI showcase because he doesn't have a lot of recruiting attention for whatever reason. So hopefully we can help change that. Running back Scotty Cooper from West Charlotte. I like this kid. 176 total yards of offense and a touchdown and a block punt in West Charlotte's victory last week. They got a big game with Huff. We're going to talk about later on when we do our game previews. Jamari Farmer from Mooresville. What an impressive game. 11 tackles, 8 tackles for loss. How do you do that? 2 sacks in their victory last week. An impressive victory over Providence, keeping Mooresville undefeated on the season. Athlete Andrew Phelps from Lincoln plays wide receiver, and he also plays DB. Had a great game at defensive back with 3 interceptions and a big win for Lincoln over Bandies, keeping them alive for the chase for the playoffs. Great job, Andrew. Former CFI camp attendee. Good stuff. Linebacker Cross Killen. Great linebacker for Charlotte Christian. Big game last week against Raven Gap. He stepped up. 14 tackles, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 forced fumbles against Raven Gap. Raven Gap rated as one of the best teams, not only in the Carolinas because they're in Georgia, but I mean across all 3 states. Raven Gap won the game, but Cross, played an excellent game. So congratulations to him. Big offensive lineman and defensive lineman Tyler Clark came to our HBCU Carolina showcase from Jordan High School up in the Durham area. He had a sack, tackle for loss, and several pancakes on offense in their homecoming victory. His film was impressive. I think he's a little under-recruited. He needs some more recruiting attention. He's a very talented young man. Quarterback Javier Rice. I remember talking about him last year. He's a senior at Asheville Christian High School. 7 total touchdowns and 473 passing yards in their victory. Those are incredible numbers. He's a talented young man. Congratulations, Javier. State record was tied by quarterback Javion Vines Holder from Vance County High School. 10 touchdown passes in their victory. I believe it was over Granville Central, 94-18. Hey, tie state record, you're a Petman player, man. Congratulations, Javion. Linebacker Harrison Johnson from Porter Ridge High School. 14 tackles, had a pick 6, 2 fumble recoveries in their win. He's a typical, I won't say typical, but a multi-time Petman player. Great job, Harrison. Jordan Lineberger from Newton Conover. I saw this film. I gave him a camp invite. 22 tackles, a forced fumble, and a touchdown in their victory last week. impressive all over the field, man. Sideline to sideline player. Wide receiver Jari Mosley, another multi-time Petman player. 6 catches, 150 yards, and 4 touchdowns, and 9 tackles. That's a long night, man. Great job, Jari. Running back Landon Richards, talking about long nights from South Rowan. 44 carries for 250 yards. Good gracious. Those are Quavaris Crouch-like numbers. And 3 touchdowns in their victory for South Rowan. South Rowan playing better now in the conference. Have to watch out for them. I think we'll talk about them later on when they're playing Concord. Kenneth will kind of preview that game. Khalil Wright from Country Day, we talked about him before, talented quarterback, 2 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns in their big homecoming victory. And then we finish up with another OLDL Cameron Outing from Mountain Island. He had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and he played center and guard. You got to show love to the lineman, man. Great job, Cameron. He's getting some recruiting attention as well. And those are your Week 7 Petman's players presented by Rock Solid Training. If you need some one-on-one training, reach out to this man right here who's coming to the stage and get you some rock solid training in your life.
What's up, Pep?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm well, brother. Well, excited to be here tonight.
I'm excited that you're here. It makes my job easier so you can host segments like Punt or Huddle Up.
Well, you know what time it is. It's time to find out, hey, you're the head football coach. Your offensive coordinator calls a play. He says something to you. Do you believe what he's saying? Are you buying it? Are you going to go for it on 4th and short? Or you ain't buying what that guy's saying. You're going to punt it away. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first one here, we're going to stay with our hometown boys, the Carolina Panthers. God help us. So the Carolina Panthers, as you guys know, we gave up 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and their top wide receiver, DJ Moore, of course, after we'd given up our top player, Christian McCaffrey, to trade up to get Bryce Young at number 1, to move up 8 spots to get Bryce Young at number 1. We bypassed C.J. Stroud. We bypassed Anthony Richardson. We bypassed some edge rushers and some offensive tackles, guys who could have helped us out this year. After 4 games, the Panthers are 0-4. Bryce Young is 0-3. Bryce Young is just another example of the Panthers picking the wrong player in the draft. I'm afraid to go to him. Big Eye Shelby, what say you?
I'm a punt on this one because I do not feel like Bryce Young is the problem. I think the Panthers chose the wrong head coach.
Punt still. Friday Night Fowler, my brother. What you think, man? The Panthers picked the wrong quarterback in this draft?
I'm a punt. I'm just like Big Eye Shelby, man. It ain't Bryce Young's fault. It's the whole organization fault, in my opinion. So I'm a punt on this one. It's not Bryce Young's fault.
Producer Brandon, I know you just rolled in, man. The Panthers get this draft wrong with their number 1 pick?
While I can understand the sentiment and why the question is coming up, I've been paying attention to Stroud and his numbers. So I get it why it's coming up, but I'm gonna punt. I just think it's still only 4 games into the season. For both. Bryce has only played in 3. So I think it's still too early to assess, a draft pick 4 games into a season. Ask me again at the end of the season, I might feel differently. But there are some, like Webb alluded to, there are other factors that contribute to a coach's success. Bryce exactly hadn't had the best play calling in the world. I think last game, there was something like 15 passes thrown behind the line or something like that. CJ seems to be in a better situation. So I'm going to punt for now. We'll revisit this, obviously, maybe at the end of the season or a year or 2 down the line. But for now, we punting.
Coach Dub, what do you think, man? Panthers get this draft pick wrong?
I think they absolutely got it wrong. You can see it. It don't take a rocket scientist. But again, I'm going to punt on this one because I don't think it's Bryce's fault. They got him. I think it's an organizational thing. They picked the wrong head coach. They made some questionable decisions as an organization with the trades and stuff like that. And they haven't surrounded this young man with the weapons that he deserved. So I'm going to punt on it.
Petman, what say you?
Kenneth, I got an announcement. Did you know that Sport News Update says we're being streamed on ESPN right now?
There it is. There it is.
No other talk show is being streamed on ESPN. Please don't click that. No, it's not legit.
Oh.
But back on topic, I am going to punt because I feel like I made a post on Facebook. I feel like Bryce Young is the next coming of Drew Brees. And then you think about Drew Brees' career, he was drafted by the San Diego Chargers. And it took him a while to kind of get his feet under him, but San Diego gave up on him and drafted another quarterback named Phillip Rivers, I believe. And then Drew Brees ended up going to New Orleans Saints and then making history down there. So I think we need to be patient to kind of echo the sentiments of some other guys that commented. I think we do need to make some scheme adjustments. Austin Corbett at guard will definitely help a lot because shorter quarterbacks, you can't have that up the middle pressure that we keep giving up. It seems like every other time we drop back to pass. So I'm putting right now. I think he's still really talented. And apparently they're trying to trade for a star wide receiver at 0-4. So maybe that's something else we need to talk about.
Yeah, Pep, I'm going to tell you who their star wide receiver was. That was their star wide receiver. I'm going for it, man. Let me tell you something. The way I look at it, and I said this leading up to the draft, if Bryce Young came out of college this next year, what number quarterback would he be picked? Is he getting picked in front of Caleb Williams? Is he getting picked in front of Drake May? Is he getting picked in front of Shedeur Sanders? I don't know. At best, he's the third quarterback coming out of next year's draft, and we gave up everything to move up 8 spots to get this guy. I'm going for it. We picked the wrong dude. I said it before. I don't know if Frank Reich is a bad coach or if our general manager does not understand what Frank Reich is trying to do, but we have not put the pieces in place to be successful. Next question. So the number 1 ranked college football team in America, the Georgia Bulldogs, they're 5-0, but they just narrowly escaped against Auburn this last week, 27-20. They gave up over 200 yards rushing to the Tigers. Georgia is not the best team in America. Petman, what do you think about that comment?
I'm going to huddle up on that. I have not been impressed, by the Bulldogs early in the season. Now, this team has played a very weak schedule, but they have blown their opponents out. I think right now, and you know how college football is, it's week to week, but the Michigan Wolverines, I think, are the best team in college football right now. So I'm going to huddle up on that.
Friday Night Fowler, man. What do you think about those Georgia dogs?
I'm huddling up on that as well. They're kind of, to me, for everything they lost to come into the preseason ranked number 1. I know they were ranked number 1 off of reputation of what they've done the last 2 years, but they're not the number 1 team in America right now. I would make a case for Michigan, but like you said, Michigan to me hasn't played anybody, so it's pretty much up in the air. Even though I am a proud Florida State Seminole fan, we didn't play our best against Clemson, so. But I'm a huddle up on that. They're not the best team in college football right now.
Big Ass Shelby, what do you think about them dogs down in Athens? Best team in the nation?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm a punt only simply because I know that despite the start that the ACC has had with multiple teams undefeated, you still got to understand that SEC is the best division in college football. Understanding with being an LSU fan, it's very tough to go into Auburn or play a team like Auburn every year. So even though that Georgia may have not looked the same against them, they're going against an opponent that's very familiar with each other. So every game in the SEC, every team is familiar with each other. So I still think because they're undefeated and their schedule, nobody has played a hard schedule this year. If you're a top 4 team, none of the 4 top teams have played a harder schedule. So, UGA's whole schedule is not necessarily super tough. They play who they play as far as regular season goes, as far as conference games, non-conference, nobody's going to call them anyway. So I think right now they're undefeated. They're number 1, and they're going to stay number 1 until they get beat.
Producer Brandon, what do you think, man?
I think I'm a huddle up on that, man. I think, like you say, they're having some close calls. They lost a lot in the draft, and I think them being one, a lot has to do with them being the defending champs. So there's some past accolades boosting them up a bit. Are they still a really, really, really good team? Absolutely. But I think if they're one bad Saturday away from a loss, if that makes sense. I mean, technically you could say any team is, but I think if they run into the right team at the right time, they could go down, especially as close calls they're having. A lot of time, just an undisputed number 1, it's usually very convincing. They're having a lot of very convincing wins, some past Alabama teams, etc. So I'm huddled up on it. I think they're riding a thin line right now, and I think if they catch the wrong team, it's possible they could go down. Can't guarantee it, obviously, but it's very possible the way it's looked so far.
Yeah, I'm going to punt on this. And here's why. When you're the 2-time defending national champion, I believe, and you're undefeated, even at 4-0 versus bad teams like UT Martin and Ball State, every game you play against, you're the other team's national championship. Every other team circles this. Every other team thinks they're going to get a girlfriend when they sack the quarterback or they get a first down. This is their Super Bowl moment. Auburn played lights out. We saw in that Swamp Kings documentary that we've talked about on the show, it talked about after that national championship, just how much pressure those Gators were under, and the coaches were putting them on, and the players were putting them on. They just weren't having fun yet. I think that Georgia might have a little bit of that slump, that little bit sluggish. Maybe they put a little bit too much pressure on them. But I think by the time the season ends, they're going to be back up there in the top 4 for sure. Last one, man, and I gotta change hats because, as you guys know, we announced it this week. Charlotte Football Insiders is putting on another showcase. This is the 5th showcase as such. In those first 4 showcases, we have had it's somewhere in the neighborhood of over 1,500 student athletes come and participate and compete in front of now hundreds of college coaches, over 70 total colleges in attendance. We've seen dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of players getting a college scholarship. Well, Kenneth, why are you wearing a Winston-Salem State hat? Because just today I was talking to a coach at Winston-Salem State about another kid that's coming up on a visit this weekend, and we were talking about his starting quarterback, Dalen Lee from Shelby. Coach Webb, you know him well. And he said, Coach, we had never heard of Dalen Lee, our true freshman starting quarterback, until we went to the CFI showcase. It was the Carolinas HBCU showcase last year. And when our head coach, I'll say that one more time, when our head coach, because we've had at least 15 collegiate head coaches to be at our showcases. When our head coach, Coach Massey, saw him, he said, man, that kid is the real deal. There's absolutely no way we would ever have a shot at him. But we offered him anyway. We had him up on a visit. In fact, I ran into Dalen and his family when he was up on his visit last fall. He said, Coach, that kid's a stud. Thank you for everything you're doing with the CFI Showcase, you and Pet Man. So my question's super simple. There has never been an event in the history of North Carolina like the CFI Showcases. The number that December 2nd, Palisades High School, will be the 5th one. Coach Dub, you've had some experience at our CFI showcases. What do you think about it, man?
I think you're correct, and I'll go a little deeper. We was the only ones that actually did a camp during COVID. We was able to do a camp during COVID, got a lot of college coaches in front of these athletes. And I can't stress the importance of actually taking out the middleman. And what I mean by that, any kid that feel like they're getting slept on in the state, they might feel like they're getting overlooked for whatever the situation might be, the level of competition. It could be your size, your height, whatever the case may be. You have a chance to get right in front of these college coaches and show what you got. You don't got to wait for your coach to get you the information. You can get directly in front of them and show them what you got. I'll give you an example. Most college coaches, a good cheap college camp is going to be about $50, but most of them are charging north of $100. So if you look at it, if you got 20 college coaches that's able to evaluate you in person, think about how many opportunities you get to be able to showcase your skills. So it's actually like going to 20 camps. I'll share a quick story with you guys. I had a player. He actually, his dream school was actually Presbyterian. He wanted to go to Presbyterian. That was number one. I kept, as a high school coach, I'm sending this information out. Presbyterian's kind of getting back with me, kind of slow playing the situation a little bit. And then it was after the senior year. So I said, go to the CFI camp. Presbyterian's going to be there. Let's get in front of him. So the coach, he was a little bit everywhere. And I said, hey, my player's down here. He walked over there. And after 4 plays, after 4 times watching him go, he said, Coach, I've seen enough. He didn't tell me good or bad. He just said, I've seen enough. 2 weeks later, my kid got offered. Now that kid is playing for Presbyterian. So shout out to CFI.
Coach, I remember you posted one time online after one of those early camps. That might have been the one at Mountain Island, or it might have been the Carolinas HBCU showcase, but you posted exactly that. You said at this price point, if you went for 30 colleges that was at that first one, if you paid $50 a camp, that would be $1,500 it would cost you to have the same amount of college coaches looking at you as what you're going to have if you attend our CFI Winter Showcase. Last December, we had over 35 colleges that were represented from every level, JUCO all the way up to FCS. FBS can't be at our camps per the NCAA. We had over 70 coaches there. Just a phenomenal opportunity, Coach Dub. I thanked you before, but thank you for everything you've done to help make these camps successful for us. Producer Brandon, man, you've been at every showcase, every camp, even going back to COVID at Mountain Island Charter, taking pictures. What have you seen?
Definitely, without a doubt. Definitely going for it on this one. The proof is out there. So these aren't just empty claims that we make about the camps. I mean, you see the kids, you see the offers, and it just makes sense from a financial standpoint for kids to come out and just get in front of coaches all at once, because we know not everyone comes from the most financially stable background. So if a parent or parents can just pay one small fee and get their kid in front of 30 plus schools all at once, it just makes sense. Because like you say, you can go to the Chapel Hill camp, the NC State camps, but at that point, you're literally only getting in front of one school. So you took time out of your whole weekend, and you might, not saying you can't get their attention, but if they're not interested, there's no plan B for that one particular camp. But it's just a no-brainer as far as getting in front of 35 plus schools. You might get multiple offers, and the results are there. There's no, there's no snake oil here. That's why it's like you said, Winston-Salem State literally found their starting quarterback, at the CFI camp. And it's not to say that Dalen was very talented. He was going to land somewhere, but that relationship between him and Winston, you could argue, it may not happen without him going to the camp. So definitely huddling it up on this one. I mean, the results are there. So.
Big Ass Shelby, man, you're another coach whose players have reaped the benefits from our CFI showcases. What do you think, man? Is this the greatest opportunity for high school athletes ever in North Carolina?
I think it is, man. And to speak on Dalen, man, I know he got a couple of different offers from the CFI showcase. two of those, or maybe I think one or maybe two of those kind of fell through. So he was blessed to have the Winston State offer and those coaches seeing him. He went down on a visit. They did an in-home visit. They felt like it was a match, and now he's a starting quarterback for Winston State, man. So, with kids and parents, they're still searching and still looking for opportunities to showcase themselves in front of coaches. What other camp would you get that at when you have head coaches? A lot of camps that you may go to, whether they mega camps or things like that, they only send the assistants or certain coaches in that area. You get a chance to perform in front of the guy who says yay and nay about how much money you're going to get. So that's very unique. It's very different. I know from the guys at Shelby when I was there helping them coach, I put a lot of guys in front of competition that they may not usually get to see, and a lot of those guys excelled. I know Isaiah Bridges picked up an offer from Mississippi Valley State with Coach Lucky, man, and also North Carolina Central. I got to see him there, and now that's the school he's committed to. So it's one of those where, man, it's a lot of. If you're a junior, it's a good time for coaches to see you for the first time, or they get to see you in person for the first time. Or if you're a senior still searching, man, it's a lot of money still left out there to be made. So, I think it's a great place to go you get a nice T-shirt, you get photography, and biggest thing, man, you get to see a plethora of college head coaches at a football camp, sideline right there evaluating. You can't find that nowhere else.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen it. Isaiah Bridge, you came up to me, Coach, man, we got to get this dude looked at and talked to a couple coaches, and 10 minutes later, he picked up his first offer, FCS offer, Division I, there on the spot. Of course, going to an FCS school next year, man, he's committed. Pet man, what do you think, man? CFI, is this the best thing that CFI does for student athletes?
Man, that's a tough question. The best thing, I think CFI does a lot of great things for kids. I'll huddle up, obviously. I do want to say that I think there are a lot of great people that run other camps that do a good job. But I will say from a strict recruiting perspective and putting kids in front of college coaches, I think it has been the best in North Carolina. I have to be careful because I definitely don't want to disrespect anybody. But the focus of our camp is to get kids in front of college coaches. There are other camps that do a great job, but their focus is on other things. I think VTO is a reputable camp, and Vince, I consider a friend, and he does a great job with getting kids prepared to go to college camps in that window. And then there are some other guys that have done a great job throughout the years. I think about Jabril and Carolina Exposure, what they were doing when they were in the camp arena, and they've graduated to kind of doing games and events, and they do a great job with that. And then there are other guys. There's so many people now that do camps. But I want to take this time to really stress that you have to know what you're paying for when you go to a camp. If you come to a CFI camp, you know you're going to be in front of college coaches, no matter when we do the camp. This particular camp, I think, is our biggest camp because it's the first weekend in the open recruiting period. And that is the first weekend that college coaches can come out and see you in person, evaluate you, give you offers, get you on recruiting boards, talk to you, all those things. So if you're watching this show and you have a son that's playing football and you want to know about recruiting and how it's going to work, make sure you go look up the NCAA recruiting calendar. If you are going and considering a camp, and that camp is happening outside of the open recruiting period, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to have college coaches there. Okay. And then if that's your main goal, then that's what you need to stay with. Just know what you're paying for when you go to a camp. Each camp has its own kind of focus for what they want to do. CFI camps will always have a focus of getting you in front of college coaches and ongoing promotion to those coaches. I have several DMs right now from college coaches that are looking for players. And I reach out to those coaches and I send them lists of guys that meet the criteria that they're looking for. So it's not just at the camp where we give you an opportunity. It's ongoing. If you pay your money to us to come to a camp, just know that information, it is there and it is there forever. And if you meet the criteria of what a coach is looking for, myself or Kenneth or whoever else has access to that information for us will send it out to college coaches. So it's a relationship with us. It's not just a 1-day camp. It's ongoing for however long that you need our assistance. And that is always free. So you're only paying for the camp, but you get us forever. And Coach Rob, I'm gonna go to you because you said you wanted to say one other thing.
I'm also look at it from a standpoint, because I've had college coaches come in and say, "Hey, the CFI camp allows them to be able to recruit multiple schools, because a lot of these recruiting coaches, and I mean, at some of these schools, they don't have the budgets like the larger schools, but some of our smaller schools that come to our camp, some of our HBCUs that don't have the budget of these bigger schools where they can go around to each high school, and they really got to kind of lock in on certain schools. They're able to look at every school that shows up. So even for a high school, a college coach, it benefits college coaches, because when they come to our camp, it's like them going to 40, 50 different high schools. And my last point about the CFI camp, think about when the winter showcase is happening. Most of your college camps that you can actually get evaluated through that process is going to be in the summers, where they can actually put eyes on you. This is one of the few camps that after your senior year, so just say if you was a sleeper, you didn't have a good junior year, or you just popped on the radar and you had a lights out senior year, and you had a decent, okay summer camp, you get a chance to highlight your skills after your senior season at this camp in front of college coaches. So also look at the timing, because this is where those college coaches are really, truly evaluating your skill set and your talent. Is right after your senior season. Instead of looking at your highlights, they can come out and look at you in person. And a lot of my high school coaches know this. When we send our players highlights off, they say, "Oh, well, we like them, but we don't have an opportunity to see them live or see them in person." Well, you got the opportunity at the CFI camp.
Well said. Appreciate that, sir. Now we're gonna bring everybody in because we're gonna have a brief, and I mean brief, discussion about some things that have been happening around the state. First of all, I want to bring up the fact that we've had so many fights the last couple of weeks. I mean, fighting in the stands. I think down east there was a brawl where multiple players got ejected, but then they got cleared after they looked at video. But most of this stuff is happening outside of the field of play, man. So I saw Union County came out with some different guidelines after the Porter Ridge and I'm sorry, not Porter Ridge, Forest Hills and Monroe game last week, where the game was actually stopped and Monroe was declared the winner in the middle of the third quarter. But what can we do to kind of combat all this fighting going on, man? Do you guys have any ideas or thoughts on that?
I don't really know what you can do to stop it, so to speak. You just got to be like, as adults, man. You just got to be more accountable. You got to understand, man. You had a game. Don't ruin the experience for everybody else. Not like you had an NFL game where it's thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and a fight can happen on one side and it doesn't affect the whole game or everybody else. Understand the high school game. You're dealing with a smaller crowd of people, and you fighting on the away side can change the whole aspect of a game, or you fighting in the parking lot can change the whole aspect of a game, or you in the concession stands fighting at a high school game. It changes everything. And also, like like the game with Forest Hills and Monroe, you ruined that experience for the kids. Like, even though Forest Hills was losing, you ruined them. You ruined the seniors' chance of saying, "Hey, we only played 2 quarters against our rival my senior year because of something that happened in the stands or somewhere else." So just think about that. Even at Dudley, where they had to fight, they ended up having a shooting and somebody lost their lives, and now their game Friday, their homecoming game is going to be played at 12 o'clock on Saturday.
Yeah, it's sad.
I'm willing to bet that one of the reasons why they're doing it instead of Friday night versus Saturday afternoon is because it's daylight. More people can get eyes on stuff. I'm willing to bet you for security concerns is one of the better things. And then also, I heard that even when they're shooting at Delhi, they said it was 50 feet away from the police officer. So obviously, it's like if you're gonna come with bad intentions with do certain things, don't do it at an event where you know it's gonna be multiple kids there, man. It sucks for the kids because the kids are the ones who always end up losing out.
Absolutely. Anybody else on the fights?
Yeah, I would tell them to beef up security. Just get more security, get more, and unfortunately, you got to do it, but just have more of a police presence at these games. It might, like, I know at our games we got one or two police officers, but at some of these bigger schools, you might have to have 8 to 10 police officers just patrolling, because it's one thing being able to see that police present. People are less likely to act a fool. Some people are going to just act a fool anyway, but some people are going to see the police and know, you know what, if I cut a fool, I'm going to get locked up. So just more police present, I think, will help with it.
And then a lot of times, I think it's going hand in hand with the adults and kids. I know a lot of kids just seem like they fighting more and more at games, man.
We need to bring boxing back. I mean, I ain't mean to cut you off, Big Shelby. We need to bring boxing back to these schools. We need to get the PAL back up, because a lot of these kids want to use their hands. Let's teach them how to use it productively. We took boxing out of our community, so kids don't know how to fight now. I mean, they're keyboard gangsters and all that other stuff. If they really want to fight, let's take that aggression, because you got some athletic kids that might can throw some hands, and you can see it at the professional level where you got a few names here and there, but those are kids that grew up in families that box. So let's bring back some boxing back into high school and the community, and start using that aggression productively.
That's not a bad idea. And I'll say, I mean, people think football, boxing is the ultimate discipline. When people think football practice is hard, boxing training, oh man, that's another level of discipline and work ethic. So I wouldn't snarl at that. I was just gonna say, of course, either more cops or just think about how you strategically position and place cops at bigger crowds, bigger draws, more cops. Maybe perhaps, like you said, people are less likely. I'm not gonna say zero, less likely to do something with police there, and then just possibly. I know everything won't transfer over. You can look in the research and see what some other cities and stuff do to curb violence, because it's not the only place in America that this happens. So look at some other bigger cities where they've had a problem with violence in games, and look at some of the strategies that they've implemented, what's worked, what hasn't, and then go from there. Some of it might be able to transfer over, some might not, but it's worth a look to see what some other schools have done and do some research out there.
Yeah. And and as far as the kids go, I think when kids fighting, they're not doing nothing but seeing what parents or adults around them are doing. And I think when the adults are fighting, it ain't nothing but just pure ignorance.
Yeah. Some good comments here. Mr. SRT8392 says it was crazy. It was someone that wasn't even there for their game. So, that's similar to what was said about
worse, man. That makes it even worse.
Are we talking about the Dudley?
I think they're talking about the Monroe in Forest Hills. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it's similar to what happened at Harding, and they said that the people fighting there didn't even go to the school. So it's, unfortunate for sure. Joe Hughes said kids reveal what is taught or not at home. I mean, we can say that till we blue in the face, man, but that's a whole deeper issue. Slick DeVille, that was the game right there. I was talking about down east. 22 kids were ejected. St. Paul versus Red Springs. I saw that those kids got cleared by video review or something, but still, Jamel Lattimore starts with these kids on social media. Yeah, they meet up at these games just to fight. Yeah, that's another unfortunate thing. Yeah, so talking about Union County, they had their statement said elementary and middle school students have to be with a parent. That was what one of the main policies were that they're changing now. So I think that's a good start. But we'll see how that.
That's like Cabarrus County saying you can't bring bags into the game. That does absolutely not. There are no fourth graders causing games to be suspended because they're fighting at the concession stand. It's not elementary school. It's not middle school kids for that matter. That's just stuff to say we're doing something when you're really not doing anything at all.
Yeah,
because sometimes the parents is the problem.
Yeah,
Let's
for
be
the most
honest.
part, if the kids fight, I know
that's my only answer to all that. Parents.
Yeah, and
That's
I know
where it all comes from, man.
I know where I'm from in Shelby. Most of the fights that happen at the high school games come from maybe the middle school kids. Even at the fair, it comes from the middle school kids or ninth graders or possibly 10th graders. Like, it's the younger kids. Man, it's crazy, man, because I think CMS has a rule now where if you have like ISS on game day or you get sent out of class on a Friday for a kid, you can't go to the game that Friday night. Now, I don't know how they're able to keep track of all that, but I think that's something they've been doing. But I think they either had to beef up security or how you say, like, no parent, no entry under 18. And one of those, man, it's crazy. Yeah, so I know Cleveland County changed the rule last year, but but even the thing about it too, you made the rule, okay, my parent got to come. That's not gonna stop a kid from fighting if their parents come. A lot of times the parents talk to their kid, hey, don't let them talk to you like that, or their parents fighting. That's why they fight.
I mean, that's
yeah.
It's crazy.
That would be a really rough rule, man. I understand the idea, but making kids have to have parents, because that would completely decimate some student sections. Because not every parent has time to go and sit for 3 hours at a game every evening. So, but I understand what idea is coming from. But I would really love for it not to come to that. Because
also think about it, like a lot of the
they'll show up on senior night though.
Yeah, but even on senior night, but think about it from, like he said, from a student section perspective. Every student section at a good school, at a decent school, or when they play their rival school, they always talking junk, right? You never hear fights about two student sections fighting each other.
Nope, you're right.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's always crazy that we can get a bunch of high school kids down here talking junk to the other team, but nothing. It's never no fights, but it's always some fights going on in the stands with parents or kids in the concession stand. So it's crazy.
Deidre with a good comment here said this is something they've been discussing with the CMS Parent Athletic Advisory Council. We are encouraging participation from every school to be part of this collective to help give a collective voice to these issues. Yeah, we talked about that with the Harding Booster Club, and we had a parent that goes and represents Harding at those meetings, and I think that's a good thing. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I know if people need more information on that, hopefully they can reach out to you and get that done. Oh, thank you, Kim. Kim has the right here. If you want to email that address right there, if you're interested in being a part of that and hearing what they're discussing, I think that's a great initiative. There's some good things that have come out of that for sure. All right, so we were going to talk about New Bern, but we don't have time. But that is a crazy situation. We'll talk about New Bern next week because to have a state championship vacated is something else, man. But we gotta move on because we got time restrictions. Friday night, you have a special guest watching. Do you want to say something to them?
What's happening? What it do? Friday Night Foul in the building.
I thought you were directed to your special guest, but all right.
I don't know who it was.
What did you text me?
Oh, look, man. Look, Kellen, if you're watching, sweetheart, please forgive me. I'm ready to hit this flight tomorrow. I'm going to Vegas. I'm sorry. I got a lot on my mind right now. Please forgive me. What's up, sweetheart? My Raiderette sister, what it do?
All right. Let's go to Friday Night Foul is ranking. 4A, sir. Let's go.
Well, as far as 4A goes, everybody pretty much handled business last week. So no changes in this one. Everything pretty much stayed the same. That's all I got for 4A.
Any thoughts on 4A? I think Mooresville had a very impressive victory over Providence. I did not expect that to be a 42-0 victory. That said something to me. Huff and West Charlotte obviously will be a big game, and I think should have some impact on these as well. I think everything else is pretty good there.
Pretty much.
3A, sir.
Pretty much. Eastern Alamance went down last week, so I had to move them down. I had a tendency. I was just about to move Crest down, giving up 49 points, but once I looked into it and realized they were down 21 and actually scored 47 of the next 61 points, I kept them at number 1. Pretty much everybody else is still the same. Like I said, Eastern Alamance moved down after their loss to Williams last week.
Okay. Any thoughts on 3A right here?
I like it. I probably would move Kings Mountain and Dudley. I probably put Dudley 2, maybe Kings Mountain 3. Might even that's what I would do. Or
I would agree with you.
Possibly put even West Charlotte 3.
Really?
Yeah.
For particular reason? What?
I think for out of those top 4, only 2 of them have dynamic offenses that are able to put up numbers, and I think West Charlotte's defense is better than Kings Mountain's defense right now today.
I got you.
I think West Charlotte the best team on this list.
You got to get that offense right, though, Coach Doug.
I know, but they've been playing.
You talking about get it right?
And they've been playing some. They got enough. They got enough. I think they got enough to beat all 3 of those teams up there. Now the D boys is going to be something different. I will give you that.
Say, I don't think West Charlotte offense is a problem. I think their offense against opponents that are similar is like a different team, because when they play a team they're better than, they putting up 30, 40 points. I want to be able to see the offense do the same thing against a top defense. You know what I'm saying? Like a good defense, see if they can still do it. I think they can move the ball. It's just about how good they are going to be when it comes playoff time. Well, they got a big test Friday night, so Friday night will be one of the good games to look at.
Hey, Big Eye, I'm gonna ask you a question though. Do you think Independence could beat Crest, King Mountain, or Dudley?
Yeah.
Okay, West Charlotte beat y'all. So West Charlotte need to be number 1. That's my opinion.
I mean, don't always work like that, but
I know, but I'm just telling you, it's a different team. I'm just giving you an example. It's a different team. I think the only ones that really would give them a problem is those D boys. I think after what we've seen with South Point and Crest, they're vulnerable. And I actually was the one that said it last week, and everybody said, nah, they're not. I mean, if you play like you. Yeah. If you play like you play with Crest, they got some holes, and West Charlotte will expose it. And really, they don't really need a scoring offense. They defense scoring enough. Them boys hungry. It's a different group.
I think if South Point plays Dudley or West Charlotte, the same thing will happen. You see what happened last year when South Point played Dudley. So it's about preparing for their offense and doing what you be able to do. I think it's all the same. I think it's.
But think about this too, and I'm not disputing anything you're saying, Coach Doug. For South Point to run the wishbone to be up 3 touchdowns, Chris is resilient.
Yeah, they were
to come back against the ball control offense like that.
The thing about Chris was down 35-14, then only gave up 14 points in the second half, and they put up 40.
Right.
If Fowler, think about what I'm saying, Fowler. They got beat by Hunter Huss the week before. To actually be behind and let those many points being scored on you by Wishbone, bro, let me tell you something. There's some holes in that defense, and I'm telling you, West Charlotte is the team to expose it, because another thing about West Charlotte, they do just enough to win. They score just enough points to win, and that's the name of the game. It ain't pretty, but they do just enough to win when they need to win.
I'm not saying West Charlotte to beat Crest or Crest to beat West Charlotte. I'm saying I know defensively for Crest, when it's time, when the smoke clears and it's playoff time, they're gonna look different defensively. They're a little different, and I'm sure I can say the same for any team that has a question mark on the side of the ball.
So some good points in the comments right there. I posted a few of them during that segment while you guys were discussing that.
Yeah, also 4 teams at the top, they're gonna have to play each other at some point. Well, Crest and Keys Mountain playing each other regardless, so they might play each other twice. So these 4 teams will see each other.
And who would y'all say was more battle tested out of these 4?
Crest?
No, West Charlotte for sure.
No, West Charlotte.
West Charlotte has the hardest schedule in North Carolina.
I'll go with that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say that 1 through.
I didn't think about that. You're right. You're right.
West Charlotte has 1A through 4A. West Charlotte has the toughest schedule for sure.
All right.
They got a tough schedule.
2A Friday night.
I mean, pretty much all this the same except Forest Hills moving down because of what happened against Monroe. Granted, the game was called in the middle of the third quarter, but they was already down 28-0. So, pretty much everything stayed the same with this list as well.
You moved Shelby down, didn't you?
No.
I'll say it again every week, man. I think 9 and 10 are better than 6, 7, 8. For sure.
Okay.
My only time will tell.
Trey, you know what?
Every week.
Y'all gave up.
Every week, man.
Man, y'all gave up 20 points to Carver with no line. I'm Carver's football announcer, bro. No, you're not getting in this top 10. No.
They injured.
I don't care.
They got injuries.
Man. All right.
Hey, and Carver's improving. Hey, they're going up, right?
I understand. I know what you're saying, Coach Dub. I feel you.
1A, let's go.
He said, no, you're not getting in here.
Oh, man.
You don't do them boys like that, man.
Hey, pretty much everything the same here as well, except Mitchell losing the draw in the shootout 57-42. Pretty much everything the same on this one as it was last week. It's still a two-team race in 1A, in my opinion. And that's the top 2 at the top.
I will add this. I like this list. But don't sleep on Swain's defense. Out of everybody on this list, Swain has a defense to stop Mount Airy.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I got you.
All right. Any other 1A thoughts? All right. Thank you, Friday night. Oh. This week's Dirty Dozen, sponsored by the Queen City Senior Bowl. Make sure seniors in the Charlotte metro area that you have applied to play in the bowl game. Registration will close next Friday. I think that's the 13th. So Friday the 13th is the last day you can sign up. It'll close, and then we'll work on putting the team together. Then there will be a selection show toward the end of October. Once we nail that date down, of course, we'll put it out there. But Providence Day is still on top, followed by Butler, Weddington, Northwestern, Crest, West Charlotte, Huff, Monroe, Chambers, Kings Mountain, J. Robinson, and Mooresville in at number 12. And then on the edge, we have Northwest Cabarrus, Sun Valley, Lake Norman, and Independence. Not in any order. Thoughts on the dozen this week?
Looks good.
All right. CMS Best to Last. The most controversial rankings on Instagram has had some players, I should say, go back and forth about the rankings this week. But on the top 10, the biggest move was South Meck, who has won 3 in a row in conference play, moving up to number 9. Everyone else is pretty much kind of in the same place. But any thoughts on the best to last this week?
I think North Met could be higher. Providence got smashed. That's just what it is. No one's seen that coming, but they pretty much got smashed. I would actually move North Meck in front of South Beck.
Okay.
How many wins Providence got? 3 or 2?
I think they got 2. I feel like we talked about that last week.
I was debating. Reason why I asked, I was debating the North Meck Providence switch, maybe, but for now, I probably. But I thought about it though.
Yeah, so Kareem says Valley Creek needs to be at 8. Interesting. They haven't lost since that West Charlotte game, I don't believe.
I was just about to ask him that.
Yeah, so I mean, I have a tough time penalizing a team when they've won. I think they've won 2 in a row. So
Myers Park and Audrey Kell over Valley Creek.
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure on that either. Well, RGK Myers Park actually played this week, so that might settle some things right there. I mean, this is based on the whole totality of the season. I mean, you can say that they beat them head to head, but what has happened since that game? You know, all of that has to be taken into consideration. So that's my explanation on that. Yeah, so that my thought process is, you know, you can't penalize somebody for winning. I don't think that's right, unless maybe it's a game where they were supposed to win by a big margin, they won by maybe 2 points or something like that. Otherwise, you know, you hold your spot. That's how I feel about, you know, rankings in general, for the most part. All right, so let's move on. We got county rankings next, and we're going to bring that up here.
Hey, Pep, can I add something to that before you transition? Independence ain't the same team they was when they played Valley Creek. Independence got that thing. They got that thing rolling. They got it together.
And that's what I mean when you have to take in the whole totality of, you know, the season, you know, because I mean, you think about South Meck and they started out 0-4, and now they've won 3 in a row. So, you know, you got to take all of that into consideration. Cabarrus County, Kenneth had to step away, but not a lot of changes in Cabarrus County. We're still waiting on that J.M. Robinson Northwest Cabarrus matchup, you know, to kind of settle things. I think that's coming up on the 22nd in a couple of weeks or around that time. And then down the line, you know, Cox Mill had a big win over A.L. Brown. Of course, we talked to Jordan Reeves to start the show. One of their star players. West Cabarrus is playing better overall. So, yeah, that's where we stand in Cabarrus County. Cleveland County, still no changes. We're waiting on the end of the season to really kind of see how that kind of goes. Gaston County, we got East Gaston on top. They're still undefeated. South Point obviously played Crest, you know, well last week in a close loss. And then we've got everyone else kind of down the line right there. Ashbrook moving up a little bit because they've won 2 in a row now. So they're sitting at number 6 spot. And then we've got the rest of the list right there for Gaston County. All right. Union County, still some really good football going on. Weddington and Sun Valley next week will play in a huge game. I believe Sun Valley's on a bye. They're still undefeated. They beat Cuthbertson 7-0 last week in a game that we were supposed to go to, but we couldn't because of me. Forest Hills moved down because of their loss to Monroe. I thought about putting Cuthbertson over Marvin Ridge, but both those teams are kind of, you know, scuttling a little bit. And then Metrolina is still having a really good season. and then we got the rest of the list right there. Iredell County, the chat administrator is busy. I think this might be the first show he's ever missed. So we only got these rankings tonight. I moved West Iredell up, even though they lost. I thought it was an impressive effort for them against East Lincoln. So they're at 4, Pine Lake's at 5, South Iredell, and then North Iredell. Statesville is playing really well, but Mooresville is still on top, undefeated, and Lake Norman as well. They've got a big game coming up this week against Hickory Ridge. Rowan County, Friday night, your North Rowan guys are playing pretty well, man.
Oh yes, they're playing pretty good, man. Playing pretty good, but they got some tough ones coming up against Lexington and of course Salisbury, the last game of the regular season.
Yeah, and then Salisbury's still on top. West Rowan at 3. Carson got a big win over Concord. They're starting to play better. South Rowan's playing better. And then East Rowan is playing better as well. They've had a couple of close games. So football in Rowan County is trending in the right direction for sure. In Stanley County, we've still got pretty much the same setup right there. These teams are going to start playing each other. I know South Stanley and Albemarle are going to be playing. I think they played this week. And that'll kind of determine who, plays who or ranks who or where they're ranked. You get the point. That's Stanley County. And then in upstate South Carolina, we still have Northwestern on top. South Point had an impressive win. We saw York in person last week beat Indian Land. They move up to 3. Clover has won 4 games in a row after going 0-2. Indian Land drops to 5 with that loss to go to 4-2. Rock Hill is playing better this year. They're putting up a lot of points. Nation Ford is there at 7. We'll see if Joe has his usual statement on Nation Ford. Catawba Ridge having a tough year. A little unusual to see them this low at 8. And then Fort Mill at 10, Lancaster kind of at 12, and then Andrew Jackson and Beaufort are both 2A schools kind of mixed in near the bottom there. Any thoughts on South Carolina? Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward now. All right, so we're going to get into game previews now, which are still not sponsored. Still sponsor them. Would be great. We got the big game this week. West Charlotte taking on Huff, man. 2 very good defensive teams. I feel like going into this one, we always talk about special teams. And when you talk about special teams with Huff, they're good from about the 50 in for 3 points with Nolan Hauser, all-star kicker committed to Clemson. West Charlotte has a good kicker as well. We saw him. He made one from 40 yards out against Mallard Creek. That was basically the difference in the score. A 17-15 victory for them. So I think both teams can be sound in the special teams. West Charlotte has the ability to run some trick plays in special teams. They ran a nice reverse against against Mallard Creek earlier this season. Freshman Davion Jones can be electric with the ball in his hands. And they got a couple other guys, too, that can do some special things on that side of the football. But defensively, I think it's going to be similar to the Mallard Creek game. It's going to be low scoring. Yeah, got to have to protect the football. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Huff gets pressure on KD Smith at quarterback, because he can get outside the pocket and then make big throws outside of the pocket to those receivers downfield. Now, that's going to be a matchup to watch, because I feel like Huff's, back 7 is probably the best in the state. So if they're able to limit those off-schedule plays, I think West Charlotte's going to have some trouble moving the football. On the other side of the football, Huff's going to have to be able to protect Elijah Littlejohn and Jaden Smith, rushing the passer. And they got some good interior guys as well that are a little younger, but they're doing a good job in shutting down the inside run game and providing pressure from the middle, flushing those guys out to Littlejohn and Jaden Smith on the outside. Thoughts on West Charlotte and Huff?
Big test for both schools. Big test. So, if you want to I'm sure both of them, whether they come out and say it or not, have state title aspirations, obviously. So the performance here would go a long way, from gauging where each school is at this point as far as being a contender. So it's a great test for both.
Absolutely, man. Summer Blevins checking in saying my guys are up for the challenge. Everyone's counting us out. It's gonna be a dogfight. Win, lose, or draw. Those are her guys always. I don't know. I don't think everyone's counting you out. Have y'all heard that?
Nah, I haven't.
I haven't either. I don't know who's counting them out because I think that's going to be a absolute 4-quarter game, 1-possession game, and it can go either way. To be honest with you, thank you, Coach. I was trying to think of his name. Yeah, Sam Johnson. He's doing a really good job. Sophomore. Yeah, doing a really good job up front. Okay. RGKL taking on Myers Park. I feel like this game could be for the SOMEC Conference Championship. Both of these teams are playing well after some tough starts to the season. We are probably going to be at this game. I'm going to be at the West Charlotte Huff JV game tomorrow. It's Myers Park's homecoming. So we always talk about homecoming kind of being a weird time when you're getting ready for a game. But I think both of these teams are coming off a bye week as well. So some extra time to prepare for each other. It should be a well-played game. I'm interested to see if RGKL can get a pass rush on Myers Park, because if Wendell Thompson, the Myers Park quarterback, has time to sit there in the pocket and dissect it to his receivers, including Brody Keefe on the outside, Jahari McDonald, number 10, and then Miles Bauckham, number 1. They can put up some points, and that's what they've been doing the past couple of weeks. Then on the other side of the football, RGKL is balanced on offense. Myers Park's going to have to be able to I think they're going to have to find a way to stop the run. I think that's what RGKL wants to do, to start off with Jake Davids getting the football in his hands and that big offensive line going to work. And then on the outside, with Ben Kirch and Chancellor Bryant making plays and Gavin Adams throwing the football, they can be a big play offense as well. So I think it's going to be a really good game. Any thoughts on RGKL and Myers Park?
Both teams hot right now. If I'm not mistaken, I think both have won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, both on a hot streak right now. So it's interesting to see who can continue that streak.
All right, good stuff, man. Palisades taking on Olympic. This is a big rivalry game. We may end up at this game also, depending on how logistics go with Myers Park. But this game is about two teams that are kind of in a tough stretch right now. Both of these guys are on losing streaks, and both teams need this win to stay in contention for a playoff spot. So rivalry aside, I think both Coach Thompson and Coach Simmons are going to have their guys ready to play. Thoughts on Palisades and Olympic? Well, when you start with Olympic, you got to stop Devin Walker. He had a game against South Meck where he had over 250 rushing yards on the ground. Olympic is going to try to establish that run game first and foremost. But Palisades on defense, has some ability to kind of slow that down. Kedrick Davis at linebacker, he's got a couple different D1 offers. He's going to be a big key in slowing that running attack down for the Trojans. Now, on the other side of the football, we saw Olympic have some issues trying to slow down the passing game when they played Shelby earlier this year. They went up to Virginia to play Lord Bordecourt, I believe is how you say that. And they were able to run the ball pretty well on the Olympic defense. So getting off to a great start and getting off the field in that first series is going to be a paramount for the Trojans to have a chance here. Fettying Turner for Palisades, I think, has the ability to make some game-changing plays on offense and in the kick return, punt return game as well. A game that I was going to have Kenneth break down in depth, but South Rowan and Concord, this is an important game in the conference because South Rowan has won a couple games in a row now, and they're playing a lot better. We talked about Landon Johnson, the running back, rushing 44 times for over 250 yards and 3 touchdowns last week. We know Concord is a ball control offense. Keon Phillips at the quarterback spot, has an ability to control the game running the ball himself. So this is a game, if you want to get home early, I would go check this game out. It's been a lot of running, and that clock's going to continue to roll and roll and roll. Any thoughts on South Rowan and Concord? It's an important game, especially for the Spiders. And then finally, Weddington at Porter Ridge. This is an important game in that conference in Union County. Weddington obviously playing really well. I've only had the one loss to Butler this season. And then Porter Ridge coming off a big win over Marvin Ridge, 31-10, rebounding from the loss that they had to Monroe. A lot of good guys to watch in this game. I love Weddington quarterback Tyler Budge. I love Porter Ridge's quarterback, Jaden Lockhart. He does a great job in that option offense. Jatavian Taylor does a good job on both sides of the football, playing some outside linebacker and running back. And then for Weddington, we highlighted Caleb Bell at DB. He was a Pet Man player last week for what he did in the Dutch Fort game. So there's a lot of talent on both sides of the football for these two Union County powers, for sure. So you got a lot of good games to choose from on Friday night. But if you want to see me and producer, probably come to Myers Park. Probably. If not, then we'll be at Olympics. So, and if you want to see me, I'll be at the JV game of the week. Huff at West Charlotte. That is at West Charlotte tomorrow. All right. Now we're on to predictions. Last week, Friday night has kind of taken a bigger lead in the standings, followed by myself and producer who are tied at second. We have Big Eye behind us, Coach Dub.
2 losses I wasn't supposed to have. Supposed to have 25 wins.
We have discussed that already. There's been an official ruling.
It's accurate. It's 100%.
Hey, Friday night's a cheat code, man. Like, that's like playing basketball against a professional basketball player. Come on. Major cheat code. He does this for a living. This is what he do.
Contra code.
The engine has got over 500, and then the guest was primarily Joe Hughes, is at 500 as well. So this week's predictions, we have, starting off, West Charlotte at North Mech.
Nope.
West Mech and North Mech.
Not the right game.
I'm sorry, West Mech and North Mech. Like you, Friday night, my mind is somewhere else.
Oh.
On that dinner.
Yeah, in the kitchen, I was going to say.
That's not happening tonight.
Oh, man.
Producer.
We're going to go North Mech.
Friday night.
North Mech, baby.
Big Eye.
We'll go North Mech.
Coach Dub.
North Mech.
Woo! I guess we'll stay out of the video. North Mech with the clean sweep. Hickory Ridge at Lake Norman. I will go first on this, and I'm going to take Hickory Ridge in what some might see as an upset. Coach Dub.
Ooh. Let's go Lake Norman.
Big Eye.
My intel told me to take Hickory Ridge.
Friday night.
Lake Norman, baby.
Producer.
Going with our guy Jupiter and Hickory Ridge.
All right. Albemarle at South Stanley. Friday night.
The Rowdy Rebel Bulls, baby. The Rowdy Rebel Bulls. Let's go.
I heard you the first time. Big Eye.
Man, I was told, man, I got some good intel. My guy, Coach Marquez Brown, coaches at Albemarle, and he told me what to expect Friday night. So I'm going with Albemarle.
All right, producer.
Albemarle.
Coach Dub.
Albemarle.
I'm going to go with Albemarle as well. All right, the big one, West Charlotte at Huff. Coach Dub.
West Charlotte at Huff. I said I wouldn't bet against West Charlotte again, so West Charlotte.
All right. Big Eye.
I'm going to go Huff.
Friday night.
Cornelius, baby. Huff.
Producer.
I think it's gonna be a good one. But I'm gonna go Huff.
I'm going to go West Charlotte. And then the bonus, Audrey Kell at Myers Park. Whew. I think I'll go first on this one. I am going to take. We'll go Myers Park on homecoming. Producer.
This is really tough, man. Like I said,
This is a hard one.
This is really hard. I'm gonna go with the green team, Myers Park.
Friday night.
MP, baby. Myers Park.
Big Eye.
Hey, had to make another call on this one, man. My intel told me to take Myers Park, so I'm taking Myers Park.
You're researching the picks, man. Coach Dub.
I'm gonna be a little different. Let's go Audrey Kell.
I'm gonna put a disclaimer out there. If you told me to pick you and you lose, I won't pick you again.
I'm sure that'll be the motivator on Friday.
They don't want it. They don't want that.
Hey, pull up Joe comment. Pull up Joe comment.
All right, guys.
We found out who your intel is.
That is terrible.
Hey, she went to school. Man. She graduated in 1990.
Oh gosh. All right. So let's go ahead and let's go to best of the comments. We need to sponsor best of the comments because you guys have been on fire tonight. All right, let's see here. Oh, Bessemer City. All right, what's up, Coach Holmes? How you doing, man?
What's up,
Coach
Gerard?
Holmes? What it do, baby? What it do, Coach?
Big dog.
All right. A couple of you guys asked me this question. So this is similar to what we were talking about when we talked about ranking in the CMS best and last. So yes, head to head that happened. But once again, taking in the whole total
body of
season, you know, we just saw South Point was up 21 points on Crest. Now, that has to be a consideration when you're looking at the whole totality of the season and you're ranking teams overall. Now, as I say this all the time, this is just my opinion. Everything is settled on the field. And we do this because we want to give light to all the programs and talk about them and give them that exposure and shine that they deserve. So I am not the gospel. Believe me, you guys beat them head to head. If you believe you're the better team, by all means, you know, I support that 100%. But it's not disrespect. It's not disrespectful. I think that's something we got to get away from, man. Just because someone has somebody higher in a ranking that's their opinion, it's not disrespectful. It's an opinion. I think disrespect is something totally different. And disrespect is what's causing all these stupid fights that we were talking about happening at these games.
And Pep, the thing, just talk a little bit about this. The thing about Hunter Huss, man, shout out to Coach Randy Thompson, great coach, big time win. Salute to y'all. But y'all always play with a chip on y'all shoulder. Y'all want to get ranked too high. Hunter Huss plays with a chip on their shoulder, and they always come out when they got something to fight for. So keep that chip on your shoulder. Use it as motivation. Get those boys fired up in the locker room.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's see here. Terrence Losh said we're talking about CMS. Some teams grow, some stay the same, and some regress. Great analysis. I also think CMS is wide open race. Yeah, that's the biggest thing this year, man. We were talking, and I think parity is the biggest thing this year across everywhere. I mean, you just think about the state. I mean, there's not a whole dominant team across the state. Some years we used to have that, with some of our CMS teams, but now we're having open debates on who's going to beat who, especially when we're talking about 3A. I mean, it's going to be a fight, man. And it's not a clear designated favorite for sure. Yeah. So Kim, I hope you saw the Olympic Palisades talk that we just had a few minutes ago. Let's see here. There's some talk about CMS teams. Pedro, coach, shout out to North Rowan. Yes, sir. Doing a good job up there. Let's see here. We posted most of those comments, so I think we got most of them tonight. So, wow. All right. Oh, there, Coach Statesville. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Doing a great job.
Coach Cowan.
Yeah.
Right.
Good stuff, man.
Big dog. Shout out to Tory Torrance too, his big brother. Me and them boys got rings together. That thing hit different when you got rings together.
What's that? Iredale Warriors?
No, we won at South Lake together. We won
at South Lake. Okay.
Yeah, that was my dogs.
Okay, good stuff, man. Good stuff. All right, so that's pretty much the comments tonight. So now it's that time. I'm gonna have to be the host. It's that time to slime without your favorite host. You got me. All right, so let's see. Let's go to Friday night. Friday night, who you want to slime tonight?
Man, I want to slime with my damn Las Vegas Raiders, man. Bro, I'm sick of y'all, man. We just had a former player who was supposed to build our defense around, come back against us and get 6 sacks. 6 sacks by himself. The worst management in the league. Y'all can talk about the Panthers all you want to. We got the worst management in the league and been that way for 20, 30 years since I've been a Raider fan. I'm not changing, but it's rough. It's rough being part of the silver and black. So right now, I'm slamming on my Las Vegas Raiders. Y'all got to get it together, man. Real talk, because I'm tired of this mess year in and year out. Let's go.
Come on, Raiders. You're going to make him mad. He coming out there, too. Hey, hold on. You going to the Raiders game Friday night?
It's a possibility.
Possibility. Okay. All right. Big Eye. Who you going to slime tonight?
Hey, man, I told y'all I got y'all back tonight, man. I'm sliming the Carolina Panther organization because of the choice they made to hire that head coach. Don't even know his name. When you got Steve Wilkes down there, man, in the bet, one of the top defenses, if not the best defense in the league, riding high, flying high down there in San Fran, man. You got to do better, Panthers, man. A lot of the times when you have the good talent, your coaching staff just pitch down the leg or you make terrible decisions in office and let guys go or don't bring them back. You got to do better if you want better, man. The city of Charlotte needs more. This part of the state and country needs more than to rely on with high school sports. The greatest thing to be from here is you got high school sports and some of the best football that you can see in North Carolina. You got to do better, Panthers. You just got to do better. College Duke football turned it around. You see NC State's football is playing even better. Carolina football is back on top. You got the HBCU wave. You got North Carolina Central winning national championships. Hey, man, Carolina Panthers, it's time for you to make the right decision and put the right people in place to match the talent on the field.
I mean, right now I can't argue with that. I can't argue with it. Producer, who you want to slime tonight?
I was gonna slime Bryce for fumbling and giving up a touchdown, but I'm not. Let him slide. And I'm just gonna echo something we talked about earlier and just slime people who like to start commotions and start altercations during high school football games. Just dampen the atmosphere, taking the tension off the field where it deserves. I mean, imagine practicing hard all week and you can't even get to finish a game because People want to fight in the stands and fight in crowds and stuff like that. So I'm gonna slime those folks, man. It's even worse when it's not even high school kids, just adults that just happen to be there. So just stay home if you just don't think you can behave yourself. Just stay home, man, and stop taking away the future from the kids where it belongs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, if you're gonna come to a game to fight, just go fight somewhere else, man. Why are you gonna come to a high school football game and ruin it for everybody? It's ridiculous. Coach Dub, who you want to slime tonight, man?
Pep, can I get my slime from last week back? Is that possible?
What you mean?
Because y'all kicked me out. I didn't get a chance to slime anybody. But I'll go ahead. I got two slimes. The first one
All right, go ahead.
is Bojangles. This was my slime last week. I went there for lunch. I apologize. I got to get Bojangles. They keep going. If you notice, they keep going up on their chicken tenders, right?
Mhm.
But the Supremes keep getting smaller and smaller. So I go there, like for real, like you used to be able to get the wide body chicken tenders. They was shaped wide body and it had a bunch of meat in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you get a bunch of crust. You get a bunch, you bite into it and you get a little piece of chicken, but the price keep going up. So what happened is I go to this Bojangles and I tell them like I'm sick of getting. I end up ordering chicken Supremes and dirty rice. First, the Supremes was the size of my index finger. Number two, the rice wasn't dirty because if you're gonna make dirty rice, it either had a sausage in there. It looked like dusted rice or something like that. But if you're gonna be charging these ridiculous prices for chicken tenders, at least make them look like chicken tenders. When we was paying for Supremes back in the day, when we was going $4.99 for 4 Supremes, some seasoned fries, a dirty rice, a biscuit, and a drink, we had wide body ones. So do better, Bojangles. My next slime, and this is my slime for today, is I'm going to slime the fact that Grimsley was not awarded the state championship. If we're going to really be about the kids, let's be honest. If you have to cheat, and well, let me not say cheat. That's a tough word. If you have to play a legal player and you beat them in the state championship, I feel like that other team should be awarded a championship if it's really about the kids. Why are we vacating state championships when you got a whole other team over there that worked just as hard to get to the state championship team just to have it taken away because someone wants to play a legal player? I think the right thing to do if we're really about the kids, NCHSAA, I know y'all going through some stuff, but y'all really can make your face look real good right now and award that championship to some other kids that worked hard for at Grimsley.
I mean, I think you're right on both of your slimes, man. I mean, it's at least it should be something that is discussed. I know they said the title was vacated. We were going to talk about this earlier, but we were short on time, and we can discuss it in depth next week. But if you haven't heard, New Bern had to vacate the 2022 4A title because they had some ineligible players for different reasons, not only grades but absences. Apparently, were the kind of the deal behind that, which is why they were ineligible. And they're on probation for this year, which means they can't qualify for the state playoffs, and they also have to pay back all their playoff money gate receipts last year, which totals around $38,000 by a certain date, I think in March. So we'll talk more about that next week, along with the RPI rankings. We had that on the docket tonight. We had to cut it for time. So we'll kind of dive into both of those next week. But my slime tonight, I don't know, man. I've had a pretty good streak here lately. So I mean, I'll slime something that's pretty easy to slime, and that's gas prices. I mean, why can't I go up the street to a car wash and get cheaper gas than anywhere else around? There needs to be some regulation on gas prices. I mean, I used to go to South Carolina when I worked down in the Ballantyne area and get cheap gas, and I think I'm just mad because I can't do that anymore, and I gotta pay the regular gas prices. So we gotta get that straightened out, man. All right. So on behalf of everybody, I'm the Pet Man, Matt Morrow. We're gonna sign off. And we'll see you on CFI After Dark around 11:45 p.m. after the Friday night games. If you're coming to West Charlotte tomorrow, I'll be there. If you see me, say hello. And if you're coming to Myers Park, me and producer will probably be there or at Olympic. So if you see us, say hello. We're the big guys with the CFI shirts on. All right. Good night, everybody.